want to tell you who I was and see if it sounds familiar to you. So I was so busy raising my kids that I forgot that I was still growing as well. I was in a frozen state of not doing anything new, being afraid of everything, not trying anything new, just very stale, stagnant, and not moving in my life. I was crippled with fear. Fear of failing, fear of looking stupid, fear of trying something and then letting myself down, letting other people down. Fear of trying something new and having people think that I thought I was better than them or that I was younger than I am, and just fear of the work that it would take to improve myself and try to grow myself. Does any of that sound like you? If it does, keep watching, because I'm going to share with you 2 very important and pivotal things that I did in the last few years that have grown me so much, and I hope continue to grow me in the future. Hey guys, it's Becky. Welcome back to my channel. I have another video for you guys in my Midlife Mom Diaries series. I'm gonna call it a series even though right now there's only one video in this technical theme of being a midlife, middle-aged mom. I'll try to remember to link that other video for you. It's basically, does it get easier when you're raising older teenagers, young adults? The positives and negatives, I guess, of that stage of life, which I am very much in. If you don't know already, we have a 15-year-old and a 21-year-old, which is hard to believe. And I am 44 years old. I'll be 45 in June. So I definitely am in the middle-aged category. Some people like to say, no, you're not. I'm like, yes, I am. If I live to be 88, I'll be lucky. But I will also be middle-aged when I'm 44, which is the age I am now. So I am definitely midlife. I was a young mom. I had my first daughter when I was 23. And I think by today's standards, that's pretty young. And, you know, fast forward till I was about 40, I was in a frozen state of not doing anything new, being afraid of everything, not trying anything new, just very stale, stagnant, and not moving in my life. Yes, I was getting things done. I was raising my girls. I was homeschooling them, and those things I'm very proud of. But as far as me personally, as a woman, as a person, I was not growing. I wasn't really learning anything new about myself. I wasn't really challenging myself, and I wasn't growing. I was stuck, and I either didn't realize that I was stuck, maybe I didn't pay attention to the fact that I was stuck, or maybe I didn't know how to fix it, or maybe it was a combination of all those things. But I was unchanging and stifling myself by my own busyness, self-labeling, self-fulfilling prophecies, just not moving. But I always prided myself on knowing myself very well. I've always been very self-aware, honestly, to a fault. There's a difference in knowing yourself and continuing to grow in that knowledge, and then just staying where you are and who you are. And that's not where I wanted to be. I didn't want to stay where I was, and I didn't want to stay who I was in some areas. When taking a good hard look at myself, there were some things that I was like, yes, I like this. I don't want to change this. I want this to stay. This is core to who I am. This is just like part of my DNA. There were other parts that I was like, okay, this is a good thing, but I really need to improve upon this, grow on this, stretch myself in this area. And then there were other things that I was like, I don't like this, and I want to change this. And that really started for me when I was about 42. And now that I'm almost 45, it's still a process, and it's still a journey that I'm very much on. I don't know that you ever get to a point where maybe you feel like you've arrived. I feel like all of us should be continuing to grow in one or more areas our whole life. I think it's when you stop growing and stop learning about yourself and the world and things around you that's really when it becomes a problem. So I'm definitely on a journey, and hopefully I have the mental and physical strength to continue on that journey in a positive direction the rest of my life. But you know, the second half of your life doesn't have to be the end. I feel like I do wish that I would have started this stuff sooner, trying to grow, trying to learn more, taking more time for myself, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all those things. I do wish that. I understand why at the time I didn't, because it wasn't even on my radar. I was busy with young kids. I was busy homeschooling. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I still am. But you know, having younger kids, there's just a lot more that's needed of you physically, a lot more of the time. And there still is a lot that's needed of me and expected of me, and a lot that I want to do. But I feel like I was so busy raising my kids that I didn't stop to realize that I needed to be nurturing and growing and improving and teaching myself as well, which kind of led me to this point. I do feel like I'm a little behind the game, but I'd rather start late than not start at all. And so that's very much where I am right now. So where do you start? What do you do? Maybe you're in your 30s and you have younger kids and you feel like, I don't have time to focus on myself. And I understand completely how you feel. One thing I want to tell you that I wish I could have told myself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if not more, is figure out how to make the time. Figure out how to squeeze it in, even if it's a little something. If it's working to improve you and grow you and stretch you, it's worth it, and it will add up over time. So even if it's small and you can't do as many things maybe as you want to do, you can still find time to do something. So if you're in your 30s or even in your 40s or 50s or even later, you know, there is still time. You're still alive, and so there is still time to work on yourself. Two things, very, very pivotal into, and they sound very simple. And you're gonna say, well, that does not sound revolutionary at all. And no, it doesn't sound that way. But once you actually start digging into the meat and the bones of it, you realize how impactful it can be and how many different facets there are to these 2 steps that I took and am still on the journey of taking. And the first one is to get real about your goals and who you want to be. Notice the key word is want to be, not who you are or who you've been. Who do you want to be? What's really important to you, and what and who do you value the most? How do you want to show up for yourself in your life? And how do you want to show up for the people in your life? How do you want to be remembered? And basically every single day that you wake up, you get to choose who you want to be. And we all have situations and things that affected us growing up, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, that affected us and did help shape who we are today. But at the end of the day, you get to choose what you do with those experiences. You're choosing who you want to be rather than just being the result of the circumstances and the situation in which you were raised. You are taking power over your own life. You're not making yourself a victim of your circumstances. You are choosing who you want to be. So whether that starts out for you as simply as sitting down and doing a brain dump of who you want to be. What do you want to be known for? How do you want to show up for other people? How do you want to show up for yourself? How do you want to take care of yourself? What personality traits do you want to be able to call your own and like really be convicted that those are your personality traits? What are your core values? What are things that you are non-negotiable about? What are things that you like about yourself that you want to improve on and continue? What are things that you dislike about yourself that you want to try to grow away from? All on paper, it might look like a mess, but once you've got it all out, and that's something you can continue to add to as time goes on, but once you've got it all out on paper, you can look at it and say, this is my life on paper, and you can start to categorize and organize by relationship or goals, strengths, weaknesses, all of those different things, and start to really look at your life as from an outside perspective almost, getting a bird's eye view of who you are and who you want to be. And I feel like there's so much power in thinking about your life that way, that you get to choose who you are. You can work with those things in your life. And there's so many different ways you can, through therapy and reading and journaling and praying and spiritual life and all those different things. I mean, that's what I said. It would be impossible for me to sit down and list every single thing for you to try on this journey of becoming who you want to be. But so that's why I think you feel like you start with, who do you want to be? What do you want to change about yourself? What do you want to keep about yourself and improve on? And your goals in life. And at the end of your life, what do you want to be known for and as? So that's really the first thing. And that's still I'm still finding ways to do this in my own life every day, every week, every month. You know, recently it's been habit tracking. And that is part of this first step. It's part of goals. It's part of self-discipline. It's part of improving myself every day about things I want to do every day and implement into my life and make habits, things I don't want to do. I did a whole video about that actually. If you want to check it out, I'll link it. But that is part of step 1. And even though I've been on this journey now for almost 3 years, I'm still finding things in step 1 that are helping me to prune the things in my life that I don't want and nurture the things in my life and about myself that I do want. So, and the second thing that I feel like is very important, and I do feel like it comes with time once you start working on the first step, is to become more self-aware. Why do you do the things that you want to do? And if you guys have watched my videos in the last 2 years, you will have seen me talk about this, where I'm like, why do I do that? Why do I feel that way about this? Why do I react when this happens? But really, don't just ask yourself that question and then put it down. Ask yourself that question and then be like, no, but really, why? Why do I feel the way I do about this thing, that person, or myself? And this takes a lot of self-reflection. It takes a lot of reverse engineering in your mind, basically taking the end product and reversing it in your mind and taking it back to its root, to its origin, to its inception. Why am I upset about this? Well, this reminds me of this, which reminds me of that, which makes me feel this way, which makes me feel X. And it can be really uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable. It's stretching, it's growing, it's, you know, just like when you're in the gym and you're trying to grow muscle and you're trying to gain strength. You're literally breaking your muscles down. You're literally tearing them to grow them stronger and better. And so this is kind of the same way. There's a lot of pain that can come in this process. You know, it's easy for us to sit around and think about, well, this person did this and that person did that. But at the end of the day, what was your role in this? Why are you having the reaction that you're having? What weaknesses do you see in yourself that you can strengthen or work on strengthening? And it's probably a lifelong thing, but you can definitely work on that as time goes on. I have really learned a lot about myself in the past couple years through 2 different types of journaling. Free write journaling, where basically I can just write whatever I want, process whatever I want to process, say whatever I want to say. And then guided journaling is another thing where like you're being asked a set question. Usually there's a theme of like gratitude or purpose or, you know, whatever. But both of those different types of journaling have really helped me be a lot more self-aware of why I do what I do, who I am, and seeing patterns in myself in various situations. And I talked about both of those types of journaling in addition to a couple other types of journaling that I do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Did a whole video about that recently. I'll post it for you guys. I'll link it for you. And I am having such a good time doing these different types of journaling because it's fun, but it's also been a very helpful thing for me to do in this process of trying to grow and improve and be who I want to be. There's way more ways and options to be more self-aware, but I feel like journaling is a great place to start, and it's pretty much, if not practically, free. You know, you can get pencil and paper and start writing, and there's journals that you can buy, and there's a couple that I recommend in that video. I'll try to remember to link them in this video as well. But being self-aware and really learning more about yourself is a huge part of the process. Quiet time is also a great way to become more self-aware. Be alone with your thoughts. And, you know, so often we occupy ourselves with other things. We don't often let ourselves sit around in silence and do nothing. Pretty much there's always some kind of interruption. There's the radio, there's a podcast, or watching a YouTube video in the background, somebody's trying to talk to you. There's some type of external stimulus kind of going on at the same time. And this is not really conducive to a lot of self-reflection or deep thoughts. Try really hard to find ways to fit time into your day or your week or your month, however much time you have in your life, but finding ways, and I know you've got more time in some ways than you think. What's the first thing you do when you're sitting somewhere and you're waiting? You get on your phone, you get on Instagram, you start texting somebody, you know, you're waiting to get the oil changed, you get on your phone. You're sitting out in the backyard with your coffee, you're watching a YouTube video. And those things are fine, but maybe instead of doing that every time, give up something else that you're doing and just sit. And my husband will find me all over the house sometimes, and he's like, what are you doing? I'll just be sitting in the living room with no TV, nobody's down there, I'm just sitting, no phone, just sitting. A lot of times when the weather's nice, he won't know where I am, and he'll come to find me, and I'm just sitting out on the back porch, just sitting. Not talking, not reading, not just sitting. And sometimes I'm praying, a lot of times I'm praying, a lot of times I'm just thinking, or both. And I feel like that has really helped me to work through things in my mind that I wouldn't have ordinarily let myself have the time to do, because I would occupy myself with something else. And it can be painful. Again, it can be uncomfortable. There can be some thoughts and memories that you might have that are painful to have, but feeling them and having them and working through them and processing them mentally and or on paper is a huge part of gaining strength, gaining self-awareness, getting mentally and emotionally stronger, and growing and improving yourself, which is part of the whole, this is why we're here talking about this, right? So it's okay to be uncomfortable in this process, is expected. So just know that kind of going into it. There's going to be a lot of times when you don't want to think about this, you don't want to point out this flaw that you have in yourself. It's so much easier and more fun to point it out in other people. It's very uncomfortable to do it for yourself, but I feel like it's important. It is definitely necessary. So make sure that you are making time for uninterrupted processing and thinking. So those are really the first 2 steps that have contributed the most to me being on this journey that I'm on. And there's been a couple videos about it, like actually 2 videos in particular I can think of that kind of go along with step 1 of who do I want to be. And I don't want to be somebody who's afraid all the time. I mean, I still am in a lot of ways, and I have made myself in most ways push past that fear and do whatever it was anyway. And there's still a lot of things that I haven't done that I'm working through that with. But I did 2 videos in particular. There was one where I did 23 new things that I tried in 2023. I did the same video for 2024. Some of the things were small and just silly and insignificant, and the point of doing them was not that they were these huge monumental things. The point of doing them was because I am very regimented, I am very set in my ways, and don't like to try a lot of new things, and I still don't. And I'm not necessarily wanting to change that in every aspect, but there were definitely some aspects that I wanted to change that on, and those things were in those videos. And so if you are curious to know those new things that I tried in 23 and 24, definitely check out those videos. And one thing I shared at the end of the 2024 video was there's 3 things that I've taken away from that part of this process. And that's just one of the many facets of this process for me, of this journey that I'm on, is pushing myself out of my comfort zone and trying new things and not being as stagnant as I was. And the 3 things that I learned in the process of trying new things is, number 1, a lot of things that I was afraid of doing are not as hard as they seem. Some of them are. Some of them are a learning process, like roller skating. I've talked about that. That is a learning process for me. It doesn't come naturally to me. I'm not naturally athletic. I'm not naturally coordinated. So for me, it is a learning process. But it still wasn't as bad, even though I did fall recently and hurt myself. Still wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I feel like a lot of things we do build up in our mind that are gonna be, we think they're gonna be worse than they are. The second thing is I am a lot more capable than I think. I joke around a lot and tell people like, yeah, because I'm old. And I'm like, I'm not really old though. I'm actually in better shape now than I ever have been in my whole life, especially physically. I can do indoor rock climbing, I can roller skate, I have really good cardiovascular endurance. I am constantly in the gym working on growing my strength and lifting heavier and trying different things. And I'm just a lot more capable than I think. And I think you probably are a lot more capable than you think as well. Third thing that I've learned in this process of just trying new things, and I mentioned it a minute ago, is most people are not paying attention to what I'm doing. I know people see you fall, or people might see me trip, or whatever, and there are the occasional people I'm sure that would be like, did you see what that woman did? But for the most part, people aren't paying attention to what I'm doing. They really aren't. And that's a huge deal for me because, like I said, I do feel very conspicuous. And I am very self-aware in my own environment. I feel very I feel very conspicuous pretty much all the time. And I guess I thought that people were going to be always like critiquing what I was doing. But I don't think that's the case really, hardly ever. And if they do, maybe they might see and be like, look at this person who is trying this, especially at her age, that's doing this with their kids or their husband or, trying something on their own. There are so many facets to just these 2 steps. And so while you may think, well, 2 steps seems pretty simple to change your life, but these 2 steps are the most pivotal steps that you can take towards the process of growth and improvement. And they are so multifaceted and so ever evolving that I don't really feel like you're ever going to get to a point with either of these 2 steps where you're like, I've run out of things to do. There are always things to do to step out of your comfort zone, build strength, learn more, challenge yourself, improve and grow, and lean into these experiences, whether they're difficult or not. Be afraid, try them anyway, within reason. I mean, you do want to take personal safety in your life into consideration. But these 2 things have really helped me, and I haven't run out of things to do in these 2 categories here in the last 3 years. I'm still finding things to do new to try in these categories. I'm still working on honing the things that I've already been doing, like the journaling, like trying new things, like building my relationship with God, strengthening my own self-discipline. That's a huge one. That's where the daily habit tracker comes in. It's where consistency in the gym comes in. Goal setting is huge. It's keeping me on track with not only what my family and needs to be done in my house, but also for me as a person. What are things that I want to do to learn this year? What do I want to do to grow and improve on this thing? What do I want to work on not doing this year and in the future? What kind of example do I want to be for my girls when they're my age? What example do I want to set for them? Working on my emotional intelligence, working on my mental health, like all of these things, all of those things stem from those 2 steps of knowing your goals, who you want to be in life, who you want to show up in life as, and being self-aware. And where does that self-awareness lead you? Don't just say, okay, well, I'm a this kind of person, and then do nothing about it. Well, what can you do about it? These 2 steps, I feel like, will get you going on the right path, and these 2 steps alone can carry you your entire life of growth and your journey of being the best version of yourself, showing up as the best version of yourself for you and for the people in your life, and how you want to be remembered. And I'm really passionate about this, if you can tell. And it's been a huge metamorphosis for me that I am still on. Like I said, I'm never gonna not be on it unless I just give up. I hope that I'm able to carry this journey on for the rest of my life in some way, shape, or form. And I wanna encourage you to do the same. So if you're in the same age group as me, it's not too late for you. If you're younger than me, it's not too late for you either. It's never too late to start, and it's never too early to start. So I just want to encourage you guys, no matter what age you are, you do have control over who you are and who you want to be and how you show up in life for others and for yourself. I hope you like this video. I hope it really inspires you. And if you have a friend or a family member that you feel like could benefit from this video, I feel like it's not talked about that often. There's not a whole lot of middle-aged moms that I've seen on YouTube out here talking about this. And I feel like it's really helpful. Please make sure you share this video with anybody that you think it might be helpful for. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions of things you would like to see me talk about in this realm or in this Midlife Mom Diaries series. I do want to make it a series. I do really want to make it very reflective of what I'm going through in my own personal life. So if you have ideas in this category, please leave those in the comments. I'll try to remember to link the videos I talked about. I will link the journals that I can find that I've been using to help me on my journey. But other than that, I guess that's all I've got for you today. So if you're here with me all the way to the end, I know it's a long video and I'm sorry, but I felt really inspired to share it today and I hope it helped you. So make sure if you did, you give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.